Happiness through curiosity on the Ranveer Show. My question to you is actually about Sam Altman and ChatGPT. I'm assuming that Sam Altman knew about this rewriting of LLMs and thought to himself, maybe I could create the next big company in the world. Very quickly, if we could go over kind of a bird's eye view of Sam Altman's journey in creating OpenAI. What did it actually take to create that company? Because I'm sure there were other people trying to do this for decades. What was different here?
So I will give you the high-level view, Ranveer, because as a geek and a nerd, right, I'll give you the details around the technical breakthroughs and what enabled this to happen right now. What I have not been following very closely is the specifics about what happened internally, blah, blah, blah. I do know this, that OpenAI was never a company. It was a not-for-profit company. Well, it is also a company, but typically you say company, generally that implies for profit, right? So OpenAI started as a not-for-profit, right? One of its investors in the early days, they raised $1 billion, was Elon Musk, right? So there were multiple people, some very, very incredible. In fact, I think at that time, the CEO of Infosys, Vishal Sikka, was one of the investors in OpenAI, right? So what I'm trying to get towards is that there is a lot of people who came together to say that, look, AI needs to be solved and needs to be solved for the right ways and doing the right things. And it doesn't need to be solved to become profitable. It needs to be done so that you're doing well for humanity, right? Now, well or not well, that's again part two if you want to double click on, because they created a super powerful tool, right? Now, a lot of people will use that, unfortunately, for the wrong reasons. And a lot of people are using it for the great reasons also. So coming back to what you mentioned, right? Let's talk about LLMs, right? Just so that, because you talked about the evolution, right? And just so that everybody understands this, right? Artificial intelligence is the superset. Within artificial intelligence, then there is something called machine learning, right? Within machine learning, there are various kinds of machine learning that can be there. It could be supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, all your Google ads that you see, your Google News that you see, right? That happens from clustering, which is the unclassified or non-supervised machine learning which is out there. In 2017-18, right? Remember, all of GPT is based on natural language processing, NLP. NLP is not something new. It has been around for a very long time. It used this principle called RNNs, which are recursive neural networks. What does it do in a very, very simple way is, again, it would do the same training which I spoke to you about. It was a neural network. However, it was unidimensional. So what it'll do is, Ranveer likes to, and almost every time it will tell me do podcasts, because it has learned enough places where the relationship for the next word which needs to be predicted, and that is recursively coming in, and it was very, very linear in nature. The thing that got changed, again, I'm super simplifying this, that changed with the paper, which was attention is all it takes. That changed this because it says, instead of thinking about relations of word from one word to the other, if I write Ranveer likes to do podcasts, and I write the same line on the parallel to say Ranveer likes to do podcast, there is a attention weight between every word that I can draw between Ranveer on the left side, because think of this as written in two lines, Ranveer and Ranveer likes, Ranveer do podcasts, right? And then it basically increases those weights as you keep moving forward. This is going back to, remember, we are talking about training the model, training that actual particular line which is out there. So it basically goes back and looks at those weights and adds those weights together to then go ahead and create this huge parameter file which is there, which is not just in 2 dimensions. It's actually 512 vectorized way of storing every word, and you get things from there.
With everything that you've said till now, this is what you're saying was Sam Altman's edge in terms of...
This was not Sam Altman. This was open. This was done by Google. Believe it or not, not even Microsoft, not even Sam Altman. Now, this paper was open. People could use this all the time. That's not a problem at all. There came a lot of companies, for example, Hugging Face, right? They actually made the transformers available as a library to use while coding. That was super, super simple, right? So there were enough libraries which were created. What Sam Altman did very well was he actually used this algorithm and then trained that, because this algorithm was not meant, at least initially when it was designed, Google was thinking of using this, which it did very successfully, and it uses this today also, for Google Translate. So when you translate from English to Sanskrit to Hindi, whatever, that is what it was using. What application of this happened with Sam Altman, OpenAI, was that, hold on, if I am going ahead and converting something, because the weights which were out there were actually not English and English. It was English and French, English, and therefore those weights. What happens if we just replicate French with English itself? So if you do English and English, you will be able to go ahead and forecast or predict the next word depending on the angle or the distance between those words which are stored in that particular space, and that becomes the next word generation. It is not coming out of an if and else statement or an intelligence from that way. I mean, this is still intelligence, but as I said, it's a one-dimensional intelligence of basically compressing a lot of data, storing it in a very, very intelligent way with the weights. That's why I said parameters and weighted dictionary is what I said. And once you store that, once you ask a question or you're saying complete this sentence, it simply goes back and looks at the weights, gets that data, puts that together, and gives you the answer which is out there. That is what GPT has been doing, and that's what Sam Altman did. And it definitely was a phenomenal thing that he did. But again, as I said, this is a unidimensional, intelligence which actually comes into the picture. And the last
but
piece,
what did OpenAI do different versus all the other companies which are trying to do the same thing?
there were almost nobody which was trying to do this. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this, right? Taking that algorithm and trying to generate text out of English is something that a lot of companies can totally do that. There are two big things which happened. Because of that white paper, recursive neural network, which is the old way of doing NLP, was very linear. So even if you gave 10,000, CPUs or GPUs, right? It would still go from one word to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, in creating those weights and in creating those mappings which are out there. The new architecture, which is where transformers comes into the picture, that's where, attention weights comes into the picture, could actually allow you to go deep into the relationships of every word with every other word in the same sentence. Now, what that allowed was, think of a movie going from black and white to three-dimensional, not even two-dimensional. Firstly, before that, like 30 seconds on GPUs. Most people, hopefully, at least, the younger people would know GPUs. What do you use it for? Gaming, right? GPUs, NVIDIA always has been the number one when it comes to getting great, because what is required in a great game? Parallel processing. What do you need? You need the whole scenery. You need the character. You need me taking up my hand, shooting, killing, whatever, right? All of those things happen in parallel. You can't say, okay, I clicked on it, now something will happen to just that one pixel or that one person and everything else doesn't change. No, that's not how gaming works. Gaming was all about parallel computing.
Like
right?
when you're playing FIFA, each of the players that you see
They're
on the pitch
moving
is
everywhere. Exactly. And it's happening parallelly. Right? So if you're playing FIFA, you have 11 or 10 players, whatever it is. And each player has its own intelligence, which is out there, and they're playing things which are out there. So NVIDIA, which was the king of GPUs, right? Not knowingly, this was not a thing that NVIDIA cracked. But because of the white paper, which says that in order to get these attention, weights, now you can parallelly process the whole internet and get weights for each one of them. And to do that, you already had extremely advanced GPUs from NVIDIA, which was out there.
For the sake of gaming.
For the sake of gaming.
So
exactly.
They applied it in artificial intelligence.
Exactly. That is the reason NVIDIA today is a $1 trillion company. Because knowingly or unknowingly, now to NVIDIA's credit, they have phenomenal technology for parallel computing, right? That's the multi-threaded computing is what, NVIDIA is known for, right? They created their own thing around CUDA, et cetera, et cetera. But the point I'm making there is that applied to this new research that came up, applied to normal processing of data, which is out there for English, and then being able to provide things together, that coupled with if you look at the last 5 to 6 years, we've created more content on the surface internet than what we had in all of the last 50 years combined. Which is obvious, right? Look, we're just creating content. Everybody's creating content from the phone. So when you look at all of that and you put all of that together where so much data came in, right? Suppose this research was done in 1950s. Would we get OpenAI? The answer is no, we would not. Because of two things. Again, the infrastructure, the compute of the infrastructure, right? Every GPU, and just so that you understand the math also, A100 is the name of the actual GPU, which is very popular, used for LLMs everywhere, right? Facebook will today have between 10 to 20,000 GPUs, right? You will have, like all these big, like OpenAI has actually used north of 20,000 GPUs. The Indian government just said publicly that, look, we want to set up an infrastructure of 25,000 GPUs. One GPU costs approximately $10,000 to $15,000, which is 8 to 12 lakh rupees each. That's one GPU, right? Facebook will have around 15,000 GPUs, which are out there of A100s. And most of that is created by NVIDIA. That is the reason why the whole thing has gone up and shot up like crazy. Their stock price, it's $1 trillion company today because it's become the foundation of what is required to train a neural network. Once you train the neural network, you can run that particular set of parameters in the actual program on your normal laptop. The training is what is the most expensive part. So that is what Sam Altman was able to get. He had a lot of funding. He raised $1 billion as a not-for-profit to buy these GPUs, to go ahead and put that together. And so he got the GPU. He obviously had the clear web information, which was already available out there. I don't know if you know this, but so ChatGPT was already prepared in 2021 and 22. They could not launch it because of multiple issues from a perspective of saying, we've indexed the whole internet. What about security of this? What about the ethics of this? What about this being misused? What about if we've indexed something which was copyrighted, right? Because this is not something which you're doing as a human. When you talk about 10 terabytes of content, right? That is not a small number. And then, you just keep amplifying on top of it. And it's not possible for a human to do that. Although ChatGPT does do manual labeling, because after pre-training, you need an LLM model to produce more accurate results. And for that, there is some human intervention which is required because that's too generic when you take 10 trillion, 10 terabytes of information which is out there and we put that together. So the point I'm trying to make there is just one that, that is how ChatGPT became super popular, because when they did that, opened it up to the world, the floodgates opened, and yeah, they truly changed the world.
Hey, if you enjoyed this clip from the Ranveer Show, we've uploaded a ton of other clips related to a ton of other topics. So explore the channel because there's something for everyone.